He should have unplugged the iron. There are certain mornings that begin like every other day, quiet, predictable, harmless, until one small mistake changes everything. It was a Monday morning, just around 5 a.m., the kind of hour where the world is still half asleep, where even the air feels slow. Inside a 7-flat building, silence rested heavily across the compound. Doors were shut, lights were off. People were deep in sleep, holding on to the last moments before the day began. In one of the flats, the landlady's son was awake. He had somewhere to be that morning, something important enough to pull him out of bed earlier than usual. Still drowsy, still moving on instinct, he picked up his clothes, plugged in the iron, and began pressing. The room was quiet except for the soft glide of heat over fabric. Everything was normal. Too normal. When he finished, he placed the iron upright, glanced at the time, and exhaled. "I'll just rest for a minute," he thought. "Just 1 minute." He lay back on the bed and closed his eyes. The iron stayed on. At first, nothing happened. The metal remained hot, pressed against the fabric longer than it should have. The cloth began to darken slowly, almost unnoticeable. Then came a faint line of smoke, thin, hesitant, like a warning. But no one was there to see it. Minutes passed. The smoke thickened. Then suddenly, flame. Small at first, flickering like it might die on its own. But it didn't. It spread, hungry, fast. By the time it reached the curtains, the fire had found its strength. It climbed, crawled, and consumed everything in its path, turning a quiet room into the beginning of chaos. In the next flat, a woman named Amaka stirred in her sleep. At first, it was the smell that reached her, something sharp, unfamiliar. Her eyes opened slowly, then wider. Fire. She didn't wait. She grabbed her child, wrapped in a thin cloth, and rushed toward the door. By the time she opened it, smoke had already begun to invade the corridor. Her heart pounded as she ran barefoot, clutching her child tightly, coughing but not stopping, not even for a second. Behind her, the fire followed. 2 flats away, an elderly man struggled to wake. The smoke had already filled his room. His lungs burned with every breath he tried to take. He reached for the door, his hands shaking, his body refusing to move as fast as his mind needed it to. He didn't make it out. In another flat, a young couple woke up in confusion, disoriented, panicking. They tried to find their way through the thick smoke, calling out to each other, but visibility was gone. The heat was unbearable. The exit, unreachable. Outside, a man named Tunde burst through the building's entrance, gasping for air. He had managed to escape from one of the middle flats, his skin hot, his chest tight, his mind racing. He turned back instinctively, looking at the building now swallowing itself in flames. "People are still inside," he shouted. But no one could go back in. Not anymore. Meanwhile, miles away, 2 residents sat in a quiet office, starting their day like any other Monday. They had left before dawn, as they always did. They had no idea. No idea that while they worked, their homes were burning. No idea that everything they owned was already gone. Back at the compound, the fire had taken over completely. 7 flats. 7 lives, changed forever. By the time help arrived, it was no longer about saving the building. It was about what was left and what wasn't. When the flames were finally put out, the structure stood blackened, broken, unrecognizable. 2 bodies were recovered. Silence replaced the screams. And in the middle of it all stood the landlady, frozen, watching the ashes of the only thing her late husband left behind, the only thing she had built her life around, reduced to nothing. No words, no tears at first, just emptiness, and the truth slowly settling in. This didn't start from a storm, not from a fault in the building. It started from something simple. An iron left plugged in. The son survived. Physically, he was untouched. But some things don't leave you. Every scream that morning, every voice that didn't make it out, every second of that fire stays. So the next time you're in a hurry, the next time you finish using something and think, it's just for a moment, the next time you decide to rest before turning something off, don't. Because tragedies like this don't begin with noise. They begin quietly, with something small, something forgettable, something you think doesn't matter, until it does. Always unplug it. Always double check. Because sometimes, one careless moment is all it takes to destroy a lifetime.